Looking for these better days.
It is Monday, September 15th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. We have a Monday Night Football doubleheader that will wrap up week 2 in the NFL tonight. The Tampa Bay Bucks at the Houston Texans and the LA Chargers here in Vegas taking on the Raiders. We have to play Monday morning quarterback, recapping all the good wins and the bad losses from yesterday in the NFL. Jared Smith joins me here on this Monday morning quarterback edition of Better Day. And Jared, let's start with the game that's freshest in our minds, and that is the Sunday night football game, which the Atlanta Falcons defeated the Vikings 22-6, and we did not have a touchdown for the first 56 minutes of this game. If you were holding one of those no touchdown tickets, boy, what a sweat that was as you were about 4 minutes away from cashing that major ticket until Tyler Algier scored the only touchdown of the game last night. What did you see between the Vikings and the Falcons last night?
Yeah, I think it was 190-1 for the no touchdown. We'll get one of those at some point this year. You just don't know which game
Yeah.
it's going to happen in. I mean, listen, I think this was a very fluky Sunday of games results. I started doing my fluke report, and obviously all the sides that I bet were the ones that were on the wrong end of it. This wasn't one of it. This was a decisive win for Atlanta. They won yards per play, dominated turnovers, committed fewer penalties, didn't take as many sacks. They were terrible in the red zone, 1 for 5. But I think the biggest takeaway from this game was Atlanta's defense is starting to become a formidable unit. I loved their defense last week. I mean, they really held Baker Mayfield in check. He had a couple of really nice drives, key drives late in the game, where Baker's got a little bit more of that experience, that moxie. J.J. McCarthy, not so much. And Minnesota was just kind of ravaged with injuries. We'll see what they do at quarterback down the road. I mean, I'll be honest, the 2 games for J.J., he's played maybe 1 quarter out of the 8 quarters of good football, right? The 4th quarter, I think, against Chicago. And you just keep having to downgrade Chicago based off of what you saw Minnesota do last night on offense. But Atlanta's offense looks good. Bijan was running it. Penix looks decisive. I thought that could have been a more lopsided score. They had that weird fluky turnover where Drake London got the ball punched out. I really think this Atlanta team's legit. I don't know if they're good enough to unseat Tampa because Tampa's already got the head start in the division. But I think this is a playoff team in the Falcons. I think that pass rush is really good. Both the rookies got sacks. And I think Penix looks comfortable in the pocket.
Yeah, Penix looked all right. I question the play calling, which it's now multiple years now that we're questioning this Atlanta play calling. Bijan Robinson, who I guess last night the NBC broadcast made it known that he's going back to Bijan. Okay, so my correct pronunciation is Bijan. That's over with now. We can call him Bijan. He was averaging over 8 yards per carry, but yet on 3rd and short, multiple times, the Falcons take him off the field and hand the football off to Tyler Algier, and they don't get it. And instead of going for it on 4th down at the red zone, they settle for field goals. The Falcons kicked field goals last night from the 15-yard line, the 10-yard line, the 20-yard line. I mean, what are we doing here? They got away with the win last night, and maybe that was Raheem Morris saying, hey, I know my defense is not going to give up any points in this game. But in the NFL in 2025, that is not a formula for success. Again, it worked out last night, but in most games, that's how you lose, is by settling for field goals.
Yeah, that's fair. 1 for 5 in the red zone is not going to get it done. I think situationally, though, you have to know your opponent, right? If you're facing the Chiefs, maybe you go for those, but you're facing the Vikings, essentially a rookie quarterback. Who, again, has played, I think, 1 good quarter of football in his first 2 games. So I think in that situation, conservative is probably the right approach. You got out of Minnesota with a win. Very tough place to play. I think that was my biggest takeaway from the first quarter. While the game was still kind of, in contest, it did feel like the home field advantage for Minnesota is probably one of the best in the sport with how loud that stadium gets.
It's been for the past couple of years now.
Yeah, that is a formidable home field advantage. The irony is Minnesota's about to go on the road to Europe for 2 weeks after their game coming up this week. But Yeah, I think just in general, it's more situational football. Atlanta, obviously, you're not going to win a lot of games against premier teams going 1 for 5 in the red zone, but I don't really think Minnesota's a premier team this year.
Yeah, that's a fair point. The game does go under. One of the very few unders that we had yesterday, 10-3 to the over yesterday. And it's the reversal of
Mm.
what happened in week number one, where it was dominated by the unders. And then, of course, I was on the under on the games that went over. Well, it was dominated by the overs this week. And, of course, I was on the over on the games that went under, including last night's performance. So just I can't do anything right now when it comes to the NFL. But did get lucky with the team total of the Falcons going over last night, 20.5. Had to wait till the final couple of minutes for that one. So Atlanta now 1-1 on the season. The Vikings also 1-1 on the season, and we look ahead to moving forward for both of these teams. Let's talk about the other results from yesterday. The Super Bowl rematch goes to the Eagles, 20-17 over the Kansas City Chiefs, I am honestly, I know that the Chiefs did score a touchdown and they got the football back and score a touchdown. I was surprised, and I'm curious your thoughts watching this game to see Andy Reid punt in the fourth quarter down 20-10 there.
Mm.
I did not think that they were going to get the ball back. Now they did get the ball back with what it was like 2 minutes left or whatever. They scored the touchdown. Kudos to them. I didn't think they should have punted, especially with the Eagles and their ability to convert first downs with the tush push. And that was the difference. What was it? Five, I think, five tush pushes yesterday
Oh
in that
man,
game for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's
yeah.
unstoppable.
I've made up my mind on this play. I think this play needs to be banned. I do.
Okay.
And it's not because it's unstoppable. It's not because the Eagles run it better than everyone else. It's because it's impossible to officiate this play properly. Um, you're now getting this situation where teams are loading up so much from it that the snap is getting muddied. You get both teams jumping off sides, multiple
Yep.
false starts, multiple offsides. Like it's kind of become not a football play. And that is a problem. I think it's run its course. I think it's run its course, and I do think this play needs to be banned. And again, it's not. I'm not trying to be a hater. The Eagles have created something. They've created a monster because now teams are trying to stop this play in such a, I guess, violent way that it's becoming it's impossible to officiate. Again, go watch the replays of the tush pushes. Both teams jumped off sides multiple times, and it's just the refs are just allowing it to happen because they don't know what's up and what's down with this play. But that's neither here nor there. We can't do anything to fix that this year. It's going to be a play. It's going to be a thing. The Chiefs deserve to win this game. They out plus 1.5 net yards per play. They lost turnovers, but they played well enough to win this game. They just didn't execute in the big spots. You get that fluky pick in the red zone, flip the
Well,
game.
that's the play. That's the play. I
That's the
mean, that
play.
is
If
yeah.
even if that's incomplete and the Chiefs kick a field goal, we go to overtime. I think the Chiefs win the game.
I mean,
But it
yeah.
bounces right
That's
to the Eagles defender,
mhm.
and he makes the pick. And the Chiefs, right, like that maybe is kind of the story of the year so far. The Chiefs are just a second off. And that right now is why they're 0-2. Now, that being said, I would buy them at 0-2. I would buy them to win the division. I would buy them to win the Super Bowl. They're not far off from being 2-0. And the Eagles are not I'm sorry, but Jalen Hurts for 4.5 yards per attempt, 3.7 yards per play. That is, I'm sorry, they're not a good team right now. Their defense playing really well, but their offense is trash. So I'm not high on the Eagles right now for sure. I don't think they like should be like oh wow, we played this great game in Kansas City yesterday. No, like you made one play defensively in the red zone, it flipped the field, and you held on for dear life, and you had some rugby scrums go your way. Like very ugly game that the Eagles were able to win.
that that play changes everything. I mean,
Yes.
Kelsey, you got to catch that ball if you're Travis Kelsey. By the way, like that's just unacceptable. And then to
It
let
was a
it
tough
down,
play. He got his head around late. It's
yeah,
just the ball bounced in a funky spot. Like
but
usually that's
it hit.
incomplete.
Yeah, it hit his arm like in the wrong spot
Yeah.
and then bounced up and then goes right to the defender. So like think about that. They're at the worst case scenario, the Chiefs are getting a field goal there.
Yes.
Instead, it's like you got to think about the I mean, you want to talk about EPA. I mean, that is a complete EPA flip there of in that possession, because then the Eagles then go down and score a touchdown. So it's a 13-10 game. At worst, this is going to be a 13-13 game, or the Chiefs taking the lead, and instead it's a 20-13 swing the other way. I mean, this is it's and you can't assume the touchdown. It's actually a little bit more than a field goal with the EPA there, so it's a little bit more than 3. It's around 4.5 probably, and then on the other side, so it's a 4.5, and then maybe a 3 on the other side. It's like a 7-point swing, easily 7 or 8-point swing in terms of expected points on that one play. It's ridiculous how that changes the game. And you look at the Chiefs now, 0-2, and everyone's going to bring up the whole 0-2 teams and what the record is of making the playoffs after starting 0-2. I will say this: anything pre-2020, I don't care about,
Agreed.
because in 2020 the NFL expanded the playoffs. I'm not talking about the 2021 with the 17 game schedule, but the expansion of the playoffs in 2020 gave us gave us more wild card teams.
Yep.
And so there's more of an opportunity now to make the playoffs. Also, than 2021 with the 17 game schedule. So here's the numbers since 2020. 5 of the 41 teams that started 0-2 made the playoffs. So only 5 of the 41 teams since 2020. Here's those teams: 2022, the Bengals; 2023, the Texans; and 3 teams last year, the Broncos, Rams, and Ravens, all made the postseason last year after starting the season 0-2. The season's not over for the Kansas City Chiefs.
They're gonna
Far
make the
from it.
playoffs, guys. And let's leave it at this. Let's even say they don't win the division and they're the wild card.
Hmm.
They're gonna be favored probably in that first wild card game, because if
Yep.
they do make the playoffs, that means they turn their season around and everything's hunky dory again.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. I am a very strong buy on anything Chiefs related if we get bad numbers that flip open. Now, I haven't seen the futures market pop back up yet. I'm on BetMGMs right now. Maybe some other shops that aren't available here in Vegas. They do have some futures markets that are available, but are you getting a better price? Because Denver lost. The Chargers and Raiders play tonight. One of those teams is going to be 1 and
First
1.
place?
Like, yeah, the Chargers and Raiders playing for first place in the AFC
Yep.
West. How about that? Everyone told me Denver was gonna unseat the Chiefs this year. Maybe it's the Raiders. How about that?
Here,
What if the Raiders
here we
win this
go.
game tonight at home? But
We have a
I
yes.
am
We have a
buying the
price.
Chiefs. I am buying the Chiefs.
We have a yes/no price. Chiefs to make the playoffs. Yes, minus 165. No, plus 135.
Let me see what they were to start the year. To be fair, because obviously that's an important. Yeah, they were minus 450 back in like August.
Yeah,
I'm buying at minus 160.
I'm buying too.
What's the division price? I think actually I wouldn't bet the division price until I see what the Chiefs or until the Chargers Raiders result
Yeah.
tonight. If the Raiders win and it's the Raiders that are 2-0, I think I am much stronger in the buy camp for the Chiefs.
Okay.
If the Chargers are 2-0, the price might be a little bit longer because the Chargers have that win in hand, but I don't know. We'll see what the result is and then we'll react from there.
Now we do have. I'm curious about some of these other prices here. We have a yes/no on the Cincinnati Bengals to make the playoffs. The Bengals get a win yesterday. They are 2-0. Congratulations, starting the season off 2-0. But they have to go now without Joe Burrow for the foreseeable future. The report from the NFL Network is from Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport that Joe Burrow is believed to have suffered a turf toe injury that does require surgery and would be out multiple months. They're saying 3 months. He is seeking a second opinion and a third opinion. He's going to go reevaluate his options. But you look at this stretch now for the Cincinnati Bengals, this schedule gets brutal. At Vikings, at Broncos, home to the Lions, at the Packers, and then home to the Steelers. That's just the next 5 games. Then they have a stretch later in the season where they're at Baltimore on Thanksgiving, at Buffalo the following week, and then home against Baltimore the week after that. This team preseason had a win total of 9.5. I haven't seen a win total posted up again. Actually, let me look to see if it's up, because I want to go under their win total if it's at 9.5 or higher. Because I don't think Jake Browning, with all due respect to Jake Browning, he's not winning these games. And no, they have not released an updated win total on them. But the yes/no price on the playoffs, the yes is plus 150 on the Bengals to make the playoffs. The no on the Bengals is minus 185.
I mean, we're still early in the year, but that Bengals result today was definitely one of the flukiest results that you'll see.
What is Liam Cohen doing? What is he
Uh,
doing? I kick the
what?
field goal. Go up 6.
No, I actually, to be fair, I actually agree with that decision. Analytics said go, strong go, actually. Um, because if you kick the field goal, you still lose 31-30. Um,
That but with the extra point not as guaranteed as it used to be, with kickers missing extra points all the time, I'm gonna take my shots there. I'm gonna take my
no,
chances.
I mean, analytics was a strong go. Like I have it pulled up here because I was looking at it earlier. It's about a 5% difference. Win probability was 84%. If you go, it was about 77% if you kick the field goal. So about a 5.5% difference. I would have went. I would have went. Now if I was making the decision solely based off of my Jaguars plus 3.5 ticket, then obviously I kicked the field goal. But obviously Liam does not care about that. I think these coaches now are slaves to these analytics, and there are
Sure.
especially the
Yep.
younger ones like Liam and Kevin O'Connell and those guys. I think that's why knowing the analytics in game and having a way to track it in game is very beneficial to live betting because you know that a guy like Liam Cohen, no matter what, is going to be a slave to it.
Hmm.
Um, so that it was helpful. But again, the Bengals lost yards per play, lost turnovers, lost sacks, lost penalties. Actually, no, they had penalties were relatively even, but they lost the other three key metrics.
Yeah.
There is no universe where they cover that 3.5. That was the only needle that could be
Hmm.
threaded. In addition to losing Burrow, covering the
That's it.
3.5 without Burrow in the second half, losing all of those metrics. And it was like my best bet in every media outlet that I went on this week. It was just such a kick in the pants. But
It's
you have
unbelievable.
to give the Bengals credit. So in my quarterback ratings, um, Browning's actually the highest rated backup quarterback that I have.
I agree with that. I would
Yeah, like
agree with that.
I think they'll be okay in the short term, but losing Burrow obviously hurts.
Yeah, and Browning did go 4-3 as the starter in
Yes.
2023 when he had to take over for Joe Burrow, and was close to winning some of those games that they lost.
Yep.
So there was a chance for them there in that year. I'll say this, and I said this about the game yesterday. If I told you the Jaguars score 27 points, Joe Burrow gets hurt, Jake Browning throws 3 interceptions, and I will give you Jaguars plus 3.5. How much
Oh
money
my
are you
God.
betting?
Well, I felt the same way about Saturday. You tell me Georgia scores 44. I
Yeah,
tell you in a million years they cover 3.5. But I bet my
unbelievable.
mortgage on them covering 3.5 if you tell me they score 44. Um, but listen, this is why, and I know there's a lot of people listening that have followed you for a long time, that have been around. Like, there's not a lot of novice gamblers probably listening to you, so maybe this will fall on deaf ears. But trolling people or being like, ha ha, over like a result, like one result, is just like the dumbest thing in the world because we track every one of these results and we
Hmm.
see which games really like the way that the stats and the box scores really lead you. And sometimes the ball just bounces in a funky way. And the numbers are odd numbers, right? 3, 7. Like it just the
Yeah.
weirdness of this sport. It's beautiful. I love it. It's my favorite sport. It is the best sport. You can't watch that Georgia Tennessee game and tell me this isn't the best sport on the planet, but there is a strangeness to it with the results and the scores that we can beat our heads against the wall trying to predict it most weeks.
Hmm. What did you make of the Broncos' result there against the Colts? The penalty that gets called there to give the Colts an additional opportunity to kick that field goal. I took a lot of shit on Twitter yesterday because I tweeted out the replay of the video, and my exact quote was, "I honestly cannot believe this flag was thrown. Millions of dollars swinging because of a decision by one dude in stripes pleading his case to his two work buddies and then believing him."
Hmm.
Now, my comment was, on basically only one ref threw the flag. And I understand maybe that's the ref who's supposed to be watching that play. So that's his call and not the others. But this wasn't a quick flag. If you watch that play over again, the kick was up, it was missed, and then all of a sudden one guy runs in and calls his teammates, the other refs together. And then they have a discussion, and you see how animated he is versus the other guy. And he's trying to signal and he's trying to say something. The other guy's trying to say something. And they generally had a discussion about it. And then
Mm.
they said, okay, it's your call. If that's what you saw, we're going to believe you. And so that was the flag was thrown for leverage. The pool report was even weak too after the game. Here's the quote from the official, Craig Wolstrad. He mentions the leverage rule, which we understand. Quote, for leverage, as a defender, you're not allowed to place your hand on an opponent or a teammate and push off to propel yourself into the air to block a kick. In this case, number 92 came across the line to the right guard, and he put his hands on the right guard and pushed off him to elevate himself in the air in order to block the kick. You're not allowed to do that. It is a personal foul and a 15-yard penalty. In this case, since it was the last play of the game, blah, 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 on time down. He says all the
Mm.
right things. I watch that replay again. I don't see 92 push off for leverage.
Yeah.
I see a different player pushing the center down, and that could have been the call, right? To say because you're not allowed to hit the center or something like that. There's different rules on this. I don't know, Jared. I watch field goals get kicked every single week in football. I've seen much worse that doesn't get called.
Agreed. But
And to,
also, the Colts gained over 7 yards per play on this prestigious Broncos defense, though.
yeah.
That's the part of the game that you have to really. And they scored 7 points in the second half. Denver did.
And Bo
So,
Nix, terrible decision there. You're in
yeah.
field goal range to
Yeah.
throw an interception in field goal range there. You got to eat that play. You have to
Yeah.
understand that hey, we're in field goal range. I don't have to force this. We're going to get points and just live to fight another down. For him to force that throw and throw the interception, but then think about what happened after that. The Broncos still got the ball back, still drove into field goal range, kicked the field goal and missed it. And
Mm.
then the Colts had the chance to go down and win the game. This was if Will Lutz makes that field goal, I mean, it's a whole moot point. So it's a
Yeah.
5-point game.
Agreed. But that's, again, it goes back to just the randomness of this sport.
Yeah.
But when I look at the stat line, again, you see Indy gain over 7 yards per play on a Broncos defense that people think is the best in the league. You have to ask yourself, all right, maybe Indy did deserve to win this game. Take that one play out, the weird field goal situation, and Indy kind of dominated this game. They won turnovers. They were over 1 net yards per play. If you're gaining over 1 net yard per play against your opponent, you should win most football games, unless you turn it over a bunch, which they didn't. They had no turnovers in the game. They didn't even punt in the game. Indy hasn't punted in 2 weeks. Shane Steichen's your coach of the year right now. The season ended today. What he's done with Daniel Jones is remarkable. And you look at a Colts offense that Ryan Poles, what are you thinking drafting Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren, my friend? I don't know what you're thinking.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I absolutely insane. Tyler Warren's averaging 20 yards a catch. He's unguardable. Colston Loveland has 3 targets in 2 weeks. Now, maybe that's Ben Johnson's fault. But Indy is a story right now. That AFC South is a disaster. Houston's 0-1. We'll see what they do on Monday night, tonight against Tampa, who obviously is a very solid football team. You get Jacksonville that pissed away their game yesterday, and obviously the Titans might be one of the worst teams in the league. They had another game where they gained less than 4 yards per play, and Cam Ward, albeit the ceiling is, sky high, the floor is basically in hell because he's just the most volatile quarterback right now in the sport. Indy is very live to win this division, and Shane Steichen is right now your coach of the year.
I would agree. And Daniel Jones, he looked great.
Yeah.
He looks comfortable in this offense. And to think that they actually were going to start Anthony Richardson over Daniel Jones.
No, they were never starting. That was never happening. That was never happening. I did
he
a film
does
study on that a month ago, and it was obvious that it just, you could not start Richardson based off of what I was seeing, and obviously Shane saw the same thing.
Could be a special season there in Indy for the Colts.
I don't know what that number is, but if that's still 10, 15-1 for Steichen to win Coach of the Year, I'd bet that right now. Who do they play next week?
Coach of the Year, Shane Steichen's the favorite at plus 750.
I still would bet it.
Yeah. Second favorite is
because what are they to win the division? That is a correlate. If they win that division, he's Coach of the Year. Period. End of story. I mean, that's it. Done.
They are plus 150 favorites to win the division.
I mean, there's your bet of the week right there.
Steichen, Coach of the Year, plus 750.
100%. Who do they play
Yep.
this week?
Indy in their next game will take on at the Titans. Yep. 3-0.
Steichen might be odds on to win Coach of the Year by week 6 at this rate. If they start like 5-0 and like don't punt, now I'm looking at their schedule now. They got to play the Rams and then they have Vegas at home.
Yep.
I'll tell you what the game is that'll be big is that one against the Chargers, because I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to give Harbaugh Coach of the Year if the Chargers unseat the Chiefs to win that division, which I think is a very fair analysis. That might be a big one right there. Colts at Chargers week 7. Massive game for Coach of the Year.
Daniel Jones 75-1 MVP.
No, that's a bridge too far. That's a bridge too far.
All right.
Comeback player of the year though, maybe, right? He was hurt last year.
You can't come back from being benched.
You can't come back from sucking?
You can't come back
from
wasn't
being
he hurt?
Benched. Did he not get hurt? He didn't get hurt last year, right? He played the whole season.
No, 2 years ago. Yeah, you can't get back from being benched. You just can't.
You're right.
Dak Prescott, your favorite from comeback player of the year. McCaffrey is your second favorite. McCaffrey will win it because the 49ers are good. Let's talk about Daniel Jones' old team, the Giants. Russell Wilson, a career game. How do you make that throw in overtime, dude? You're having the game of your life, and you throw up a punt in overtime? Did he maybe not know the overtime rules? Like I don't. What was he doing there? What a terrible interception.
Weird game. Giants 7.8 yards per play, plus 2 net yards per play. 26 combined penalties in the game. Weird football game. Great call by us on the over, right? I think we're all over that on Friday's preview show.
Well, the Giants right tackle Hudson had 5 penalties on the first drive.
Yeah, that's rough. A lot of sacks, sloppy in the red zone. That's why the Giants lost the game. They went 1 for 5 in the red zone. Because again, they were even on turnovers. They were plus 2 net yards per play. They just could not convert in the red zone. And you give credit to Aubrey too. I mean, that dude's a weapon. What does he hit? A 60-something yarder to tie?
64, easy.
Yeah, like that. That's really tough to defend because of the kickoff rules and because of how close you are when you get a kickoff. I mean, they only have to get like 1 first down to be in field goal range. It's crazy. Really changes the game when you have a kicker like that. But I do give Russ a lot of credit. I thought it was weird that they did some dual quarterback stuff with Dart in that game, although it worked. I don't know. Dable just still McDaniel's situation is obviously worse because they're 0-2, and they look really bad. Whereas the Giants looked okay today. I still think that there's some weirdness going on behind the scenes. Like they're just forcing Dart into the game, even though Russ is playing well. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I mean, that would have been nice if they stole that game. I think that would have silenced some of the critics, but now you lose another game that you probably should have won. And I think the pressure only mounts, and we'll see what the quarterbacks is. It's tough to bench Russ after what happened this week, but it does seem like they want to bench Russ.
And they got the Chiefs next week, Sunday Night Football.
Oh, my God. They're going to get destroyed by Kansas City. Kansas City's going to wipe the floor with them next week. This was their chance to pull off a big win. I don't think they're going to play this well again next week.
Cowboys don't cover. That was one of the most selected teams in Circa Millions. Cowboys were actually the 3rd most selected team in Circa Survivor. So they almost lost and upset everybody here, but the Cowboys do pull away the victory in overtime. I think I saw a crazy stat that Brandon Aubrey became the first player in NFL history to have a game-winning or a game-tying kick with no time left in regulation, and then a game-winning kick with no time left in overtime.
Wow.
Because this was almost a tie here. So I believe that was the case there for Brandon Aubrey. Yep, first player in NFL history to convert a game-tying field goal, no time remaining, and then a game-winning field goal with no time remaining in overtime. So, unreal. We almost had a tie. Almost. Not with Brandon Aubrey.
I kind of hope I wanted to see a tie because I know it would have knocked a lot of people out of Survivor.
Yes.
People were freaking out. Someone asked me, like, does this mean I advance? Like, no. Ties lose in Survivor.
Tie lose. Yes, ties lose. Yeah. Lions blow out the Bears 52-21, so I guess all is right with the Detroit Lions?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'll say two things. You have to continue to upgrade Green Bay.
Yes.
You have to continue to upgrade the Packers, especially their defense. Um, because the Lions were 8.8 yards per play. It's wild. Um, dominant performance.
Mhm.
Ben Johnson, listen, I think it's a fun story with him and Caleb Williams that I don't think is going to end well. Um, Actually, to be fair, I don't really know if it'll end well or not, but I know it's going down a really dark path right now because he was supposed to be this kind of like savior figure, and you haven't seen much of a increase in their efficiency. Again, they gained 5 yards per play. They turned it over twice, ton of penalties, took 4 sacks. They were good in the red zone, but you've got to like I needed to see some kind of improvement, especially considering how much experience Caleb Williams does have. Like if we get to like Halloween-ish and this is still the vibe where they're just kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, I mean, you've got to make a decision on Caleb at some point. I don't think they're going to boot Ben Johnson. They're not going to boot
No,
Ryan Poles. He just signed a
but you
4-year
signed
extension.
you signed Tyson Bagent to that extension. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes over as the starter at some point.
That would be a very interesting path. I don't know at what point you do that, but like you can't continue to lose games to divisional opponents. I think I
Mhm.
saw a note that them and the Jets are like the two worst teams in NFL history over the last decade in divisional records. It's brutal. You
Makes
have to
sense.
win games in your division, and they can't.
Yeah. Let's move on. Rams beat the Titans 33-19. Not much to take away from this game, with the exception
No.
of the Titans' offensive line is an issue. Cam Ward is going to get sacked a lot this year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start to look at sack props for
Hmm.
games involving the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, second week in a row, Tennessee's done a really bad job with the little things. I think that to me is the most important thing when I look at a young quarterback. Are you doing the little things around him to help him win? They committed 13 penalties last week, 6 sacks. This week, it was, let me pull up my sheet. It was 10 penalties, 5 sacks. So you're moving in a good direction. You took one less sack and you committed 3 less penalties. But that's not all on the quarterback.
Yeah.
Penalties and sacks is not all on the quarterback. In fact, I would argue that sacks are probably a half quarterback, half offensive line. And the penalties, I don't know if they were all on offense or defense, but if you're not doing the little things around the quarterback to make his job easier, you're not going to get a rookie quarterback that's going to come in and light the world on fire. It's very rare that you see it. Even Jaden Daniels got a lot of help from a really good, experienced Washington Commanders team last year. Tennessee might be a dumpster fire.
Coming into this game, Tennessee was the second to worst pass blocking grade in the NFL based on their week one performance. Even their pass block win rate was subpar. I would
Hmm.
venture after this week it goes down even further. So again, I'd be looking at some sack props here for teams that play against the Tennessee Titans. The Patriots beat the Dolphins 33-27. Another weird game. Dolphins
Yeah.
take the lead, returning a punt for a touchdown, and on the ensuing kickoff, allow the Patriots to run it back for a touchdown.
That
It's
was the
just
game right
unbelievable.
there. I
Yeah,
think they win the game if they don't give up
I
that
agree.
and it was a weird play. Antonio Gibson bounced off people. Again,
Yep.
they gained almost 7 yards per play. You don't win like if you can't win a football game when you gain 7 yards per play, you're
Hmm.
doing something wrong. There's something wrong fundamentally with what's happening. Like unless you turn it over a million times, they turned it over once. Um, I don't know. McDaniel looks like I might be. I think he's the first coach gone. I mean, he just looks like he's kind of on wit's end with this situation. I think he had like a weird. He has these like weird quotes, like these like to win the game you have to play to win, or like weird like obvious quotes in the post game interview that like where he thinks he's. And I do this on Twitter sometimes where like I'll like say something that I think is really smart, and I'm like, in hindsight, yeah, like that was really dumb, but I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to coach an NFL team, so I should get a free pass. Where he's again getting paid millions of dollars to coach an NFL team, he should be smarter than this. But if you're gaining 7 yards per play, you should win a football game. But they're 0-2.
Yep. Niners, a 26-21 win over the Saints. I I said that they're going to be fine with Mac Jones. Mac Jones, 279 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I stress this. Yeah, the first drive didn't work out well, but then he was fine afterwards. Kyle
Yep.
Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. He finally got his guy. Of course, he's going to be able to turn him into something. He might not be an MVP candidate, but he's going to win you football games.
Yeah.
Now,
Game manager.
did it get dicey at times here at the end? Yeah, maybe. Would you like to see them, extend their lead a little bit more as opposed to, they did turn the ball over twice, I think it was.
They had
Um,
one turnover. They committed a couple penalties on defense, which I
yeah.
didn't love, but that's a classic Robert Saleh defense. They're going to be very aggressive
hmm
and they're going to make those mistakes. The the fluky part of this game was I was on the under in this game and the Niners. Great call on the Niners. That was a good call. On
I
that
wish
was
I
like a
put
really
them on my
sneaky
contest
sharp.
sheet. I
I
wish I
had
put
him
them on my
in one
contest.
of my contests. It was a sneaky sharp call, especially if you got like a flat three.
Yeah.
Because I know there were some two and I actually one of the Splash Sports contests I'm in gave us 2.5. That was a really good line. Um, but 5 for 5 combined in the red zone touchdowns. So and New Orleans was 3 for 3. That to me is the issue with San Francisco is red zone defense. You can't let a team like New Orleans that is so run heavy convert 3 out of 3 in the red zone. You got to hold them to a field goal. You got to bend but
Yeah.
don't break. So that's what you have to clean up. But they held New Orleans to 4.5 yards per play. They didn't lose turnovers. They didn't lose penalties. They didn't lose sacks. The one red flag was you let them convert 3 trips into the red zone and get 3 touchdowns, and they scored 21 points. Those are the only points they scored in the game were the 3
Yeah.
red zone trips. So you got to change. Like, that is the adjustment. But if that's the only adjustment, I trust Salah to actually make some improvements with that defense. I think, listen, I think San Francisco at 2-0 with Mac Jones, very underrated, very undervalued team right now because I do think Jones is going to steady that ship on offense.
I would agree. Total no-show by the Jets as they get blown out by the Bills 30-10. The only touchdown they scored was at the end when it was Tyrod Taylor leading the way and getting them some points there late in the game. Just an absolute embarrassment.
Embarrassment.
And the Jets were a popular play here because of how good they looked in Week 1 against the Steelers, and the Bills coming off of the miracle victory there against the Ravens. This was embarrassing. This was flat. There's no other way to pinpoint it. Just it seemed like every possession was a 3-and-out for the Jets. I mean, I jokingly put on Twitter it was a run pass punt, which is what it was for the majority of this game. I mean, you look at their first couple possessions: 3-and-out, 1 play fumble, 5-and-out, 3-and-out, 7 plays in a field goal. Congratulations! 5-and-out, 3-and-out, 3-and-out, 8-and-out. That's
Bad football team.
unbelievable. It's a bad
Bad
football team.
football team. And I posted on Twitter during that game. I was like, another boneheaded defensive penalty results in the Jets giving up points. The new Aaron Glenn culture, and like a Jets fan replied and said, oh, that's Salah's fault. Like, he was getting screamed at on the sidelines after he came to the sidelines. Salah would have gave him a high five. And I'm like, so you're blaming last year's head coach who got fired for something this player did today?
Yeah.
And the response was, yeah, like culture takes time. And, he was a Salah guy. And I'm like, okay, timeout. Here's my rant on the Jets. Culture is not getting screamed at on the sidelines. That is not culture. If you make a mistake and you get yelled at on the sidelines and get benched, that is not culture building. Culture building cannot happen on game day. That is not when culture is built. Culture is built in practice, in the meeting room, in the video room, cleaning up mistakes, and then not making those mistakes in the game. If you make a mistake in the game and then get yelled at and benched, or in the case of the punt returner last week, get cut, that is not culture building. That's not how you build culture. You build culture during the week. And then because the culture is built during the week, those mistakes don't happen on game days. So there's no need to yell, scream, and piss and moan and bench and cut. That's the part about the Jets that I have a big problem with. I am concerned that Aaron Glenn is a very aggressive head coach on a team that doesn't have a lot of talent. If you are aggressive and you don't have talent, it is when the game speeds up and mistakes happen. And the Jets right now are playing at a very poor pace. They're playing too fast for their own talent. And
Mm,
you could tell. It's just, you can't go into a game against the Bills where their entire defensive line's hurt and gain 3.3 yards per play. There is a
yeah.
problem with your offense if that's the case. Now, to be fair, got to downgrade the Steelers' performance last week, right? After what Pittsburgh did yesterday. They let Sammy Sunshine march it up and down the field on him. So maybe that Jets offensive performance 2 weeks ago in week one, not as strong, but culture is not built on game day. And the Jets right now have no culture. And Aaron Glenn is not building it because during the games, it ain't showing.
Yep. Tremendous points. Tremendous point there. Let's move on. Seahawks, a 31-17 win over the Steelers. This game shifted because of a rookie kick returner not understanding the kickoff rules and letting a live ball go right past them into the end zone. Seahawks recover. Will we see that happen again this season, yes or no?
I hope not. That was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. You want to talk about the ball bouncing in funny ways.
Yeah.
That was one of the weirdest plays I've seen on a football field in quite some time. But also, you got to give the Seahawks defense a lot of credit. We loved Mike McDonald coming into the year.
Mm-hmm.
Loved Mike McDonald. Went into Pittsburgh, shut down. I would say an offense that is serviceable. I mean, listen, the Jets defense, I know that they're, nothing to write home about, but they still got some dudes on defense. And Aaron Rodgers marched it up and down the field on them last week. 4.5 yards per play this week, 2 turnovers. It wasn't like penalties or anything really hampered Pittsburgh. I just think Seattle's defense was really good. And
Sure.
Sam Darnold didn't make a key mistake, and that's why they won the game.
So what do we think about the Steelers? They beat the Jets thanks to a fumble on the kick return that allowed them to score. They lose this game to the Seahawks. They're 1-1. You can make the argument should be 0-2. Are the Steelers a playoff team?
No.
Okay.
My take on the Steelers coming into the year was what happens when adversity strikes and how does Rodgers respond? We'll find out next week. They go to
Sure.
New England. Pats are coming, very high off of their win. I thought Drake May looked good in the game. And I kind of think the loser of that game, that's kind of like an early playoff elimination game. Both teams are 1-1.
Could be.
You get both teams that maybe didn't deserve to win their one game that they won. Very fluky wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll get a much better sense of, right? Because I would say coming into the year, we thought Pittsburgh and New England were both kind of wild card teams. And we'll get a very
Not
good
me. I
sense
took
of
the
which
under
team's
8.5
better
on the
this week.
Steelers on the Patriots. So
Yeah, both of those teams had the same win total coming into the year, 8.5. Maybe there was some fluctuation there with the odds, but pretty much those were,
Mhm.
teams that you would consider in the mix for a wild card berth. We'll get a very good sense of where those two teams are at next week.
Great point. All right, let's move on. Ravens blow out the Browns. Nothing much to take away from this game. Browns didn't cover. Ravens blew them out. Quinton Judkins, the first-round pick for the Browns, did make his debut. 10 carries for 61 yards. I would expect him to be much more involved in the offense moving forward. This was only his first game. He's only been with the team for a week because not only did he have the contract issues, he had legal issues and a whole bunch of stuff. So he finally reported to the team last week. He played here in this game, 10 carries for 61 yards. Look out for him moving forward. Talked about that Colts game against the Broncos. We talked about the Eagles against the Chiefs. One game we didn't touch on yet. Cardinals escape against the Panthers 27-22. The number one most selected team in Survivor survives and almost didn't, Jared. The Panthers score a touchdown. They get the onside kick. And then after a fourth down where the game was over, nope, penalty on the Cardinals defense. Panthers still alive to score and steal that game. And for everybody that picked the Cardinals in Survivor, it didn't happen. So Cardinals win 27-22.
Arizona deserved to win the game. Again, fluky stuff. They won yards per play. They won turnovers. The one bugaboo was penalties. You got to clean up the penalties. But I'm high on this Arizona team. I really do like this Arizona team a lot. And
I mean,
that
two cupcake games to start the year.
True,
come on.
very true.
Saints
but still,
and
New
Panthers.
Orleans is. I think New Orleans is a tougher team than we expected. They're grittier. They're fighting at least, and I think Rattler is like not as bad as I thought. They've got a couple of guys that can make plays on the outside, Olave and Johnson and Shaheed and Kamara, and again, New Orleans scored more on the Niners than they did on the Cardinals. So I do think there is at least some upside to this defense, but you got to clean up the penalties. 12 penalties for 96 yards, too much. Kyler Murray looks explosive in the pocket. Their run game looks really multiple, and they're doing it without really Marvin Harrison doing anything. It's other guys stepping up for them. Harrison, I think, had like 2 catches. So there's definitely an opportunity in this NFC. I mean, I think it's Green Bay, and it's a whole lot of crap. So we'll see who emerges in that Western division. But the Rams look good, the Niners look good, the Cardinals look good. I do think they have an opportunity, and Seattle looks good. Like that's a really tough division.
Mhm.
I'm fascinated to see who comes out of that division.
Well, early line for next week, Arizona's -1 against San Francisco. I think this is a massive mispriced
Mm,
line. I think that San Francisco might be my game of the year. No, I don't have
yeah,
that. But I just feel
it's
like,
in Arizona.
no, nope.
Wow, San Francisco's a dog at home, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah, I
I
would
think
bet
that
San Francisco. I would
I
bet
think
San
that it's the 2-0 overvalued nature. Like who'd they
Yeah.
beat? They beat the Saints and the Panthers.
Yeah.
Why are you
That's an
overvaluing
interesting
them?
number. Let me update my ratings actually and see where I would put that. Um, because I basically, well, I have the Niners basically at a flat 0 now with Jones, and maybe I'm a little harsh on that. And I
Mhm.
have Arizona as a 1. So I guess if you give San Francisco 1.5 for being at home, then if you give them 2 for being at home, then the Niners should be a favorite. So yeah, if the Niners are a dog, I think you bet the Niners in that game.
I mean, I'm gonna make that bet already now
Yeah.
on next week's game.
Yeah, that'll probably flip.
Yep. Okay, before we get to the 2 Monday night games for tonight, let's quickly recap some of the trends that we gave out earlier in the week up on betterday.com. We talked about some of these fade systems. And I'm just going to look at the strongest trends here. The strongest trend was the 0-1 road dogs, which was a
Yeah.
72.2% trend ATS going back to the start of the 2021 season. Here was your 0-1 road underdogs. Falcons cover, Panthers cover. Browns, nope. Seahawks win outright, obviously cover. Patriots win outright. Bears, womp. Giants cover.
Yeah.
So of the
5 and
one,
2.
two, three, four, five, six of the 7 teams, 5-2 with 2 outright wins by the dogs.
It's pretty good. I mean, listen, it was a 70% trend and they went 71%. So I think that was obviously the one to back. The 0-1 dogs off a 10-point loss also went 2-0, Panthers and Giants. The other ones were kind of hit or miss.
And how
I
about
was
this?
tracking them too.
The 1-0 home favorites, which was a 75% fade trend, which was it was 5-15-1 with the home favorites. So if you played the other side, you were at 75%. It would be fading the Vikings, congrats, you cashed. Fading the
Yep.
Cardinals, congrats, you cashed. Fading the Steelers, congrats, you cashed. Fading the Bengals, I mean,
Oh, you
I
should
mean, come
have
on, you,
cashed.
you should have cashed. And then fading the Packers didn't work out.
That was
Packers
the one
dominated on
bad one.
Thursday.
But I think that
So
one you excuse because of the spot on Thursday night, first
sure.
Thursday night
Yep.
game of the year.
Yep.
Really tough spot.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, and then this is the other big strong trend was the change of opinion trend. So where you had
Yeah.
teams that were dogs in week number 1 and then covered and then favorites in week number 2, Cowboys, Bills, Vikings and Chargers. Cowboys and Vikings didn't cover, Bills did, and then we'll see what happens with the Chargers here on Monday Night Football. So let's talk about that game. We have 2 Monday night games tonight. Texans at the Bucks, Chargers at the Raiders. We have the Texans 2.5 point favorites, Chargers 3.5 point favorites. I said this before, I'll say it again. I'm already on the Raiders plus 3.5. I've already bet that. It's
Yep.
on my contest selection sheet. I'm on this one. If this number in the first game gets to a 3, I will be on the Bucks plus the 3. But
Mm,
I don't know if we're going to see it. Do you think we're going to see a
yeah.
3?
I'm not sure to be honest with you.
Okay.
Um, I do think Houston is live for sure. To put some distance between themselves and Tampa. I didn't love
Okay.
Tampa's performance last week. I really
Okay.
didn't. Um, I do think Houston is one of those teams where at their peak they're definitely better than you expect. Sloppy performance last week. And listen, look how good the Rams looked yesterday. I know it was
Yeah.
against Tampa. I mean against Tennessee, but that Rams offense, Stafford looks really good. And that defense held down the Rams. I think um, based off of what we saw from Tampa's offense, I could absolutely see this being a lower scoring game. I
But
could
can't you say this?
absolutely
Can't you say the
see,
same thing? Can't you say the same thing about the Bucks? I mean, the Falcons' defense looked great last
yeah.
night, so maybe the
I think
Bucks'
it's gonna be a
offense
lower
is not
scoring
that
game.
bad.
I think it's gonna be a lower scoring game.
Okay.
I do think Houston's defense legit, and I think Tampa Bay is still kind of figuring things out on offense with Baker, without Egbuka or without Godwin, without Wirfs.
Hmm.
It feels like a lower scoring game. I see a 43 out there. I think that might be an under.
Okay. Raiders Chargers. What are you thinking? Brock Bowers is going to play, according to Pete Carroll.
I think the Raiders win outright. I mean, I'm crazy though. I'm high on Vegas. I'm low on the Chargers.
Me too.
Um, I'm not sold on this Chargers team. I'm not. And to be fair, you look at the Chiefs defense and how they played against Philly. All right, Chargers moved it against them. Um, that's going to be the key. Is Herbert going to have that look in his eye? Herbert
Mm,
was locked in last week against the Chiefs. If he plays that well, the Chargers are probably going to win the division. If he plays that well for the whole year,
yeah.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Do it again. Do it again on the road in a tough spot
Mhm.
against the. I mean, the crowd I think at Allegiant tonight is going to be jammed. Um,
Yeah. It'll be like
a lot of
85%
buzz.
Raiders. Mhm.
Well, there's not a lot of Chargers fans, so I think it's gonna be a mostly Raiders crowd, and there's
I would
buzz
agree.
in this
Yep.
franchise now. And with the Chiefs losing yesterday, I mean, there's a legit reason for you to think the winner of this game tonight's gonna win the division. Um, so I think I'm very high on Carroll. I'm high on Gino. I'm high on Chip Kelly. I think this Raiders offense is legit. I think their defense is good enough to be, in these games. And man, if they win this game tonight, there's going to be an interesting turning of the tide in the market with the Chiefs. I am
Yeah.
fascinated to see what the AFC West prices are. If it's Chargers 1-1, Broncos 1-1, Chiefs 0-2, Raiders 2-0. Fascinated to see what the division prices are if that's the case. I'm on the Raiders plus 3.5. I obviously wouldn't bet the money line. I like my 3.5 position just fine, and I think we'll just go from there.
Right now, it is Chargers plus 125 to win the division, Chiefs plus 280, Broncos plus 280, Raiders plus 800.
You gotta bet the Chiefs plus 280, people. You have to.
Yeah.
Now, I would wait to see the result tonight and wait to see what happens and get your full assessment of the market after each team plays 2 games.
Yep.
But plus 280 feels like a bet.
Yeah. You got to imagine if the Chargers lose tonight, though, those odds shorten up.
Probably.
Yeah. But if the Chargers win tonight, that plus 280
You
might
might
be
even
plus
get 3 to
300.
1. Yep.
Yeah,
I
plus
would still
300 maybe. Yeah.
I would still bet it. I would still bet it.
It's a
In
long
fact, if
season.
that's the case, I'm almost rooting for the Chargers to get a better number on the Chiefs division.
It is a long season. Any props that you're looking at for tonight's game? Either game, I'll let you choose anything that tickles your fancy.
Nothing really jumps out. I mean, I think there's a decent chance that the Chargers do what the Chiefs did last week, and that's just shut down Genty and make Geno beat him. And if that's the case, I think Geno completions, Geno attempts, Geno yards to the over is a good play. Um, but who knows? I mean, they might take a different approach. I'm not sold on really figuring out what the Raiders' game plan is just yet because
Hmm.
I know that Gino and Chip are just going to say, get us into the right look. And I don't know
Yep.
what looks the Chargers are going to give them. So, unlike other teams where it's like, I know I kind of have a sense with a younger quarterback, with a younger OC, you kind of have your game plan going in and it's going to be rock solid. I think Gino and Chip have a lot of freedom to adjust. And that makes the prop market a little bit tougher, I think.
I think that they're going to try and establish the run. They're going to try and get Genty involved early, and it could be a situation where they just ride him if he's having success. The one thing that I will say is when you look at the receiving props, I know Brock Bowers is going to play. At least that's what Pete Carroll
Yeah.
had said. I would still be looking at maybe his unders in case he's not, if he's banged up at all, and maybe he doesn't play the full game. Or I'd be looking at, you know, I'd be looking at other players to go over some sort of receptions props to take.
Mm.
If it's maybe Brock Bowers is a decoy out there. Maybe he commands the attention of the Chargers defense and it frees up somebody else to catch some receptions. Could be something to take a look at here. And I do think
Fair.
Keenan Allen gets more involved in the passing game for the Chargers. That was the first game back with Justin Herbert last week. Another week of practice, another getting ready for a game. You rely on the veteran here in big spots, primetime game. I could see Keenan Allen getting more involved here, especially in the red zone for Justin Herbert.
Herbert under on rush yards after last week. That's just a straight fade of what I saw last week.
Okay.
I am willing to die on the hill that the Chargers are not an elite football team right now. I'm willing to die on that hill tonight. We'll see. Maybe I'll stay there after the end of the night.
All right. Well, you and I are both on. We are both on the Raiders. Plus
Both
the
on the
3.5
Raiders.
is our best bet for tonight's game. A reminder: you can follow us on social media. Hit up Jared on Twitter at Jared Smith Bets. You can hit me up at Scott's on Air, and then we will have a full breakdown for you of the Monday night games coming up tomorrow. And then we'll get into all the other stuff coming up this week. Plenty of Major League Baseball action this week as the postseason races are heating up. We are getting down to the wire here in Major League Baseball. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is a busy, busy time of year, and we are happy that you are with us on this podcast. For Jared Smith, I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.